All right, welcome to another Fridays at UTS Startups. Amazing. We have a fantastic go-to-market panel. We've got Lauren Calautti from Scalare Partners. We've got Michelle Gomes from Evaheld. Please give them a round of applause. Now, every Friday we join here at UTS Startups and we have conversations, we bring people together, we try and do as much as we can to give people insights into what is the life of being a founder, what are some of the challenges, what are the behind-the-scenes things, and this is no different. And when I say every Friday, that's every Friday up until this Friday. This is the last one of the year, so congratulations to everyone who's here. And also a big thank you to Scalare Partners for sponsoring the food and the refreshments for today's session. So let's give Scalare Partners a big round of applause. So thank you, and thank you to Kez.
Thank you to Kez at the back in the black and white dress.
Absolutely.
Woohoo, Kez! Woo!
Now, how today's going to go is we're going to do a bit of a panel interview. There'll be a space and time for audience questions. And then we've got pizza coming afterwards and plenty of time to network. We know the events said that would finish at about 6. And if people want to stick around for a little bit, you might be able to twist our arm to keep that going for a little bit longer. So let's dive in. I'd love to invite both of you. Just could you tell us a bit about yourselves? And then we'll dive into the questions. So Lauren, could you start first?
Thank you. I'm so happy and excited to be here on the panel for the end of year celebration. So first and foremost, I'm a UTS alumni, so it's very cool to be here. Thank you. Yep. I got my bachelor's in interior and spatial design, and so taken a totally different path since then. So I'm the Chief Revenue Rocketeer at Scalare Partners. Everyone's very curious about the title. What it means is that I help our portfolio of companies whom we've invested in scale and grow their businesses. Now, I started about 3 years ago. However, what we understood is that there was an opportunity to scale me and the service beyond the portfolio. A little bit about Scalare Partners. So we are an investment firm that was founded 5 years ago from 3 entrepreneurs, James Walker, Giles Bourne, and Nick Roberts. They put their funds together, but we're not structured like a typical VC. So venture capital, they'll have their fund. Someone will take a 2% management fee to deploy that capital, and the investors get their returns when there's a liquidity event. And when there's a liquidity event, there's a 20% carry, which often means the founder is giving away a lot at that exit. We're not structured like that because we're founded by 3 entrepreneurs. We write all of our checks off our own balance sheet. So we are early stage technology investors. It's a really great synergy that we're here at UTS Startups and sponsoring your end of year celebration. And we have multiple different ways in which we generate top-line revenue that means we can keep making those investments. One which is called the Founders Union as well, but we'll touch on that in follow-up. But that's just a little bit about me.
Thank you, Lauren. And Michelle?
So I'm Michelle Gomes. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Evaheld. I'm part of the UTS Startups community, and it's great to see so many of you here, and I hope you get something out of the chat that we're about to have. And thank you, Lauren, for saying yes and coming to join me. I am not being sponsored by Scalare, and I'm not receiving any fees. I just think Lauren is super, she's amazing, and she's been very generous with her time and coming here, teaching us something that hopefully we don't know, and more importantly, something that we can actually use. But also a contact for us to have at an investment firm, because I know that that is a challenge that a lot of people have. So thank you for opening up yourself to that, Lauren, because I dare say you're going to get a lot of invitations.
No problem.
Amazing. And, Michelle, if I could start with you, right? you've been in the startup game for a little while now. You've been building your business, and it's gone through a number of different evolutions. When you first started, did you know what go-to-market strategy was? And what were some of your biggest challenges at the start when you first started thinking about building that strategy?
Great question. So I've come from a B2B background, so I think that I had too good of an idea of how to do B2B sales, and I had to unlearn all of it because I thought it was going to be a lot easier than it has been. And I learnt really quickly that being a great salesperson that creates urgency and can close is very different when you are dealing with a product people know about and when you have leads coming in the door. Being a founder and putting out a really strong go-to-market strategy is a whole different ball game. So it hasn't just been evolutions in product, it's been evolutions of me over and over and over again, and learning how to sell in a totally different way, unlearning how to sell, really. Yeah.
And what did that look like at the start? What were some of the things that you would bump up at? You would try certain things, you'd bump up against it. Like, what did that look like?
Being really solutions focused and thinking that I could apply a formula that works everywhere else. So probably coming across as probably aggressive. The kind of sales that work well everywhere else just doesn't when you're a founder and nobody knows what the hell you're doing. And you learn really quickly that you've only got one job, and that's to make people care about what you're doing. And so for me, generally, as a person that can be like a bull in a china shop and very results oriented and the plan and great at executing, I had to step back, and I actually had to get really good at telling the story and connecting with people on a deeper level so they actually care about what Evaheld is, what it does for people, what it means to them, and using that as the foundation of future talks and not selling.
So I can hear a lot of like listening to what they care about and being able to adapt and adapt and adapt and adapt. And Lauren, as you've gone and worked with so many different early stage startups, like what are some of the those, I guess, biggest challenges? What are the biggest mistakes that you see founders making, especially when selling to large organizations? Let's kick off there and we'll build from there.
Yeah, sure. So I think one of the biggest challenges that I see, or mistakes that I see in early stage is, and this is like, there's two sides to this, right? But I'm sure we're all here. I need to know my audience. So I know we're all here because we're innovators, we're problem solvers, we're doing amazing things and we're teaching the world new ways of thinking through our products and our business, right? But I think the biggest challenge I see is that founders become so obsessed with that, which is warranted. However, a little bit more energy or a little bit more obsession on the go-to-market motion or the go-to-market strategy, you could end up 2 years in and you're still pre-revenue because your energy just keeps on going into the product and the problem and the innovation versus just getting out there, speaking to people, making connections, getting a couple of runs on the board, whatever that might look like. But yeah, sort of you said it earlier today, make connections with people versus looking inwards, product, innovation, problem. Yeah.
Wonderful. Okay. And let's dive into that piece, right? Because Michelle, as a founder, you're introducing people to a new product, or often a product that maybe, and in your case, at a space where people don't even know what's going on. How was getting that first enterprise customer like? So you're there going, B2B, all my experience isn't necessarily working. I need to find new ways. I need to help people care. What was getting that first enterprise customer like? What was the journey up to that, and what was the process like?
So I've told you how I started and how that wasn't working and what I had to unlearn. And I'm a very firm believer in energy, and energy matches energy. So if I was going to get them to care, I had to care. So if I had to get them to care about what I was doing, I had to care about what they're doing. If I was going to get them to help Evaheld and help our cause, I had to help them and help their cause. So when I shifted my mindset to what can I do for others instead of what they can do for Evaheld, started building partnerships. And the first partnerships that I worked on were never to make money. They were for credibility purposes, to learn, and to start building a network in a space that I had no, except for my volunteering, I had absolutely no access to. You know, initially it was dementia and end of life. So that's kind of how I started.
And just for the people in the room who might not have heard of Evaheld, can you just give us a brief rundown? What exactly, sort of what are you doing? And like, how is that exciting for your enterprise customers?
Yeah, great question. Evaheld is the world's only comprehensive legacy preservation platform. What the hell does that mean? It means that we have come out of many, many years, and I'll say centuries, of a hyper-focus on legacy being connected to money, and legacy being connected to people in power are usually men. And what we're seeing now is what we call, and I've coined this because I've actually never heard anyone say it but me, the democratisation of legacy. And we're at the forefront of that. It will no longer be a case that only the rich and powerful are going to have a really strong legacy that future generations will hear about forever. That's what we're doing at Evaheld, and our vision is to be the largest depository of self-curated memorialisation content that can connect with future generations in a way that's not been possible before. The old way is something like Ancestry.com, right? We're pulling records, fantastic, love Ancestry.com. There's no focus in any of these businesses in actually helping people curate their own content. And when I started Evaheld, I thought, my goodness, what a huge opportunity. I can't be the only person that has missed this, right?
Turns out.
People weren't looking at it, but also we didn't get traction early on because we weren't doing what people are looking for. So in order to, I thought if we do family history, if we offer everything to do with story, they're going to start with family history, and eventually we're going to convince them to create messages for their grandkids to receive on their 30th, 40th, 50th birthdays, concepts that people have never thought of before, and I thought it was that linear in story. What I then realised, and this is why we now do everything, is what they do know is legal, financial, personal documents, making those accessible, etc., etc. They also know health and care wishes, right, increasingly. So once we added that, it shifted the conversation completely. But I only knew that from talking to customers. So that was first the head of not palliative care, the head of Hammond Care, the dementia unit, that said, can you add advanced care planning? And can you digitise the About Me forms? So literally the forms that they give people when they're first diagnosed with dementia. And I said, of course we can. And it grew so organically for us. And now when I look back, I think how dumb that we didn't think of everything. We didn't understand the customer, and now we do. It's like bring them for the essentials, what they're used to, guide them to everything else.
Yeah, and Lauren, I'd love your insights just on that process. And you obviously know Michelle from before today. What are some of those lessons that everyone can really take forward? So what are some of the things that resonate with your experience in what you hear from Michelle?
Yeah, thank you for that question, because I was going to jump in and say something earlier.
Yeah.
So that idea of your generosity, and perhaps you do need to provide something to someone who might be an amazing referrer or someone that you can reference to get more customers early on. So in regard to the partnerships is so valid. So focusing on that is really important. I've heard that from many successful founders, including you. It's definitely a really great focus and idea to pursue.
And Lauren, you've talked about getting obsessed with the go-to-market strategy, and also separately, you mentioned to me earlier that insight selling was a thing that you really recommend. Can you describe a bit of what that means, and how can people who are looking at exploring the go-to-market strategy use that idea? Yeah.
Yeah, so there's lots of different ways to go to market, right? And then understanding what your ideal customer profile is and where are they? Like, what does a day in the life of your ideal customer profile look like, right? So based on that, nailing how you're going to go to market and where. I'm sure you all know this, right? But going back to the insight selling era, or the insight selling approach, that's a little bit of research from Gartner. Has anyone heard of Gartner? Cool. So they've researched that over the years, the sales landscape has evolved rapidly. So is anyone selling or in business pre-internet? Yeah. So we knocked on doors, we gave pamphlets out, like that's how we communicated. And so the seller educated the customers and the prospects on all of the different options out there. These days, you guys have got your phones right here, we are absolutely smashed with information. So we're no longer educating our customer on our product or why we're better than a competitor. We're educating them on the insight, and your example is superb, right? Because you said earlier, no one knows that they need an Evaheld legacy vault, but it's our job to educate them and lead with the insights why. So the insights that we lead with are typically our business and the innovation that we're providing. And I think that's really great news for founders. This literally links back to the research from Gartner.
Amazing. And Michelle, you had that insight when you were speaking with Hammond Care, and you were like, wow, I didn't realize how, of course, I should have done all of this. It's easy to think that in hindsight, but can you talk a bit about that transition from I'm a founder, I need to tell my story, I need to tell my story, I need to take that sort of make people care, and transitioning that, still keeping the essence of it, but bringing that into a space which has that sort of commercial clarity, a space that the large clients are like, yes, I can see this fitting in with our goals and their ecosystems.
Yeah, great question. I definitely think that our pipeline is built on connections and trust. My co-founder and I have spent a lot of time meeting with people and forming trust. There's a few ways definitely to do that, but I will say that in early days, we weren't trying to sell, we were trying to learn. So we went in, we learnt about their pain points, especially when I think of aged care. And these guys most of them, have dinosaur CMS systems, right? And it's usually by legacy players. And it's really sticky. So for a lot of these big CMS players, and a specific example will be helpful, in aged care, they'll complain for years and they'll never leave them, right? And then a startup turns up, and I'll be like, but I'm right here and I'm going to do everything you want and I'm going to do it so much faster. They see the evidence of how bad their experience is, but they'll be like, yeah, but that company has this many years, this many team members. What if you go bust next week? They've got all this money to do with what I want.
The inertia is just too strong.
It's really frustrating because it's like, but they haven't prioritised you or done what you want for so long, and I'm here, let me give you everything you need. So with our first aged care, we built it. We could actually be a CMS, we don't want to do it, but we built the most advanced care planning, analytics and automation system in the country, which was why we now advise federal government. They gave us a wish list and said, this is what we'd want to do, but they said this isn't possible because of this and this and this and Band-Aid solutions and all the rest of it. And there it was, the B2C consumer app. So I'm not sure if you know this, Lauren, but we actually have an entire B2B product. And they link. So for the first time ever, all of the traditional CMSs just have the B2B product, right? Evaheld Legacy Vault is the consumer app that goes to families, to carers, to guardians, whoever it is might be, and all of the advanced care planning data feeds right into the B2B dashboard, giving everybody analytics in advanced care planning that have never existed. The best we can do, like Advanced Care Planning Australia, they're amazing, is survey people. What's the struggle? They survey clinicians and they survey nurses and they survey people saying, why don't people finish these things, etc. We were the first to actually be able to tell you exactly where people exit, what are the statistics, say the organisation. You actually don't need to give masterclasses on the process. Focus on the do not resuscitate, and it's not that they don't know the answer, it's that they don't want to think about it. So the training shouldn't be whether they know how to fill out a form, it should be support and having conversations around how difficult it is to say, yeah, if I have a fall and I've got brain damage, don't revive me. So we listened and we moved. We didn't wait to say, if you buy it, I'm going to build it. We built it, and they were like, the CEO of our first one was like, you guys must actually be crazy. Like literally, are you joking? Like, yeah, here it is. So I can't remember what the question is, but I'm very sorry, but we listened and we built to customers, and I didn't worry about what was the vision was never aged care, but if these are the people that have the highest need, that we're closest to selling, and it makes that dream alive, that's where we go.
And that do not resuscitate, like you said, they knew the answer, but they didn't want to think about it. That's like such a perfect sort of, like, wow, if you can package that up, and that's ultimately what you're
Evaheld, it's dumb. Like, you should interview your grandparents and parents before they pass away, right? Could you think of anything worse to do?
Yeah.
Or more tedious? Sitting there, and, we know it's always a tomorrow problem. This is,
Yeah. I'd love to ask both of you some like rapid fire questions to go through before we go to the audience Q&A. If a founder has to do one thing next week to improve their go-to-market strategy, what would that one thing be? Or what would they start with? Who'd like to start?
I'll go. So learn the metrics that matter. So what's your average price point? How long does it take for you to close a deal? And what's the conversion rate? Now, if you're pre-revenue, you don't know these things, name them, manifest them. I know that might seem a little bit woo-woo for people, but visualise the average price point you want, the amount of customers you want, the conversion rate. So out of how many people do you need to speak to before one yes? And start to really understand the metrics that matter in your go-to-market.
So metrics that matter, actually get really clear on what it is you want to hit in terms of those metrics, and also, like almost implied there, start going and doing it, start measuring as you go. Awesome. Michelle?
Be really clear about your partnerships strategy and what you can do for people in different tiers. So who you're trying to sell to, but also who you can help and who will bring you credibility, like community organisations or whatever it might be. That's a softer opening and is going to give you some credibility, more network than actually just going from nothing to trying to get in front of CEOs. Be my biggest thing. Who can you actually get in front of and go and talk to them, give them compliments. I love that today from the audience. Ask for advice and ask and give people compliments, as opposed to send anyone ever an email that says, I'm Michelle from Evaheld, Evaheld is a blah. So that would be my advice.
Yeah, go chat to people, give them compliments. And I think the thing you said that I really liked was, hey, go and speak to who you can get in front of. Yeah, awesome. And the final one is, what is a myth about B2B sales that you'd love to just kill forever? And take that however you'd like.
I heard this earlier today in the workshop, and I hear it all the time. People say, I'm not in sales, I'm not in sales. I think that's a mindset thing. I think there's an amazing book by Daniel Pink. It's called To Sell is Human. It breaks down the fact that selling is a very human thing and we all do it every single day, whether we realise it or not. And so I'm really big about language. And so if you catch yourself saying out loud, I'm not in sales, include the word, I'm not in sales yet.
Wonderful. Thanks, Lauren. And anything from you, Michelle?
Question?
Yeah, are there any myths that you'd like to dispel? Or are there any myths that you believe that you were like, oh, I'm really glad that I don't believe in that myth anymore?
That there's a right time.
There's a right time.
There's never a right time. Now is the right time.
Wonderful. We're going to go to audience Q&A in a moment, but please join me in giving a round of applause to our fantastic guests. And I'll grab one of these mics, and we'll bring the mic around. Who'd like to ask a question first? Yes, right at the back. I'm going to do the mic running. Awesome.
Thank you, Aaron.
Oh, you got it?
Thank you both for such an informative session so far, and it's really hilarious to me that I just dropped in, and the last time that I just dropped in, I also had met, had been here at the same time. It was incredible for that to happen again. My question is about energy management. What the biggest challenge that I find in being a founder is not wanting to be a founder anymore because it takes up so much of my life force and energy. And what I'm curious about are what are some of the techniques and strategies that you've employed, especially as women and badass women, in being able to move forward in the world and continue to work in a very fast business-paced experience, but also stay true to that feminine nature. And also I love the balancing of the complementing and to actually be manifesting. And how do you really build yourself your internal power to continue moving forward in this manner?
Thank you. Oh, there you are. When I moved my head, you'd sat down. Thank you for such a thoughtful question. I've got two responses. So one is almost rewording your question. I'm a huge fan of you manage your energy, not your time. They're actually two very different things. And the way to know how to manage your energy, there's a very practical tool that I need to buy shares in the company soon because I plug it everywhere. It's called Gallup-Clifton Strengths Assessment. Has anyone done that before?
Strengths Finder.
It's only $39, and then you can, I'm not affiliated at all, and then you can unlock it for sales. And the reason I recommend you unlock the report for sales is that, one, the assessment's all positive psychology, so it's going to tell you what you're uniquely good at, and when you're operating and leveraging those strengths, things are meant to feel effortless. You delegate the rest, automate the rest, build agents for the rest, right? But when you know that, then you can manage your energy versus your time and hopefully not feel that fatigue that you just explained.
More questions? Yes, one at the front here. The mic's going to come round.
Yeah, Michelle, I'm interested to know, the service that you provide is for individuals to record their legacy, right? So how did it end up being a B2B rather than a B2C business? How do you sell it to organizations rather than people who want to record their mother or father's legacy?
Right now, Evaheld cannot be a B2C company because no one has an idea of the problem until I tell them. Then they're like, oh my God, yeah, I've got that problem. I can't multiply myself to speak to every single person, but I can speak to every single company. At a company, one, it's my background, but at a company, I speak to one visionary, one person that gets it, and I've gotten thousands of customers. If I was to come and speak to every individual person, the touch points that's required for something like Evaheld, because we don't have competitors, people aren't aware until they're aware, then they're like, shit, that's a big problem. So that was it. That B2B for me is reach, And then it was, secondly, is I'm very privileged that Evaheld is a startup that touches every single person, and not many startups can say that. It's insane. So I know that I'm bidding my time with B2B. I know that we will be the biggest legacy company in the entire world. And I know that, but I'm waiting for the energy shift. I see it in Gen Z. Gen Z never ask me what for, right? Gen X and boomers, but what if they say something in a video that's going to outdo their will and everything in the world? Gen Z goes, oh my God, I love that, I'm going to get it for my grandma, right? Evaheld is a company built on Gen Z values. It's a company of the future. This has been my biggest challenge. That's why I started with B2B. Visionaries in B2B, they get it. And we're about to do our biggest deal ever, and they'll come on next year, and it's an insurer. And they got it. And I didn't sell it, showing them a product. They've never seen the product. Would you believe that? My biggest customer has never seen the product. They said, why? We're looking at things because, nobody trusts insurers. They've all got really bad NPS scores. And they said, why Evaheld? And I said, because no other product that you can offer your customer puts you at the centre of multi-generational legacy conversations in families. And the leads that you can get from this, they're warm, soft leads, and the value to your company of aligning your brand with ours, because, we've got our brand value is huge. We're talking about people's most precious content. Their most precious thing to people are their connections with others, and we are literally preserving people's connections. You can't buy that stuff. But again, to have that conversation, I need to be speaking to a visionary. And really, that person is actually just a really good business person because they get it.
Wonderful. Got some more time for a few more questions, if there are any. Yeah, at the front.
Recently, my name's Bradley, by the way, Bradley Hughes. Recently, I've come to consider myself a parallel entrepreneur, parallel founder, rather than just trying to do one thing at a time. I'm trying to do many. What's the perception like, speaking with potential early investors, if you say you're part-time on an idea and you have other projects? How do I overcome that, but you should be all in on the one thing?
Yeah, great question. Have you started talking to investors yet?
I'm just beginning, yeah. I've been bootstrapping, self-funding so far, yeah.
Is that the feedback you're getting?
A couple of times. It's like, well, you're trying to do too much. Like, it's all impressive, it's all amazing, but it's too much. You can't possibly do all that.
Yeah, so for transparency, I'm not part of the IC, the investment committee at Scalare Partners, so you can preface my response with that context. But I would say that's going to be pretty consistent with what people are going to say. But I am fascinated by this phrase of parallel entrepreneur. I quite like it. The short answer is, in the spirit of authenticity, I'm not sure yet. Yeah.
Wonderful. Any more? Going once? Going twice? Oh, fantastic. Last one.
My question is for
Michelle.
How did you overcome the negativity when people were telling you, this is like you had to overcome the whole explaining it to every single customer from a customer perspective? Like, how did you get your head around did you have to continually stay positive? Was it like a matter of positive reinforcement of yourself, self-conditioning to keep having to say the same story to each individual consumer, rather than the businesses? Because it's kind of a two-way marketplace for you, right? Like, it's both.
Yeah, really good question. So the short answer is I try not to convert people. Usually the feedback that I'm referring to is different generations' feedback and opinions on what we do. I've learnt a long time ago, don't challenge people's opinions because they will not change and you just waste your time. So one, I spend my time where I can make a difference. And right now, for Evaheld, that's with B2B. Secondly, it's about explaining, it's who understands the intrinsic value without giving me, or without giving us, I should say, reasons not to do it or reasons why people don't do it or anything like that, right? So it's not actually about managing that. It's actually about managing that because, as I said before, I'm super privileged. Everybody needs Evaheld. And in fact, the best B2B customers and contacts, because we don't convert everybody, we don't even, convert 20% of the thousands of people I've now spoken to. Every single person that I've ever spoken to, B2B leaders, has said, the moment I saw what Evaheld does, I thought, oh my God, why haven't I done that before? And I'll give you one example. The head of distribution at Hollards, he said, you have no idea how many of these calls, how many of these emails I see. And he said, but I read your email and my wife had a cancer scare 6 months ago. And only seeing your email today, I think, oh my God, if that had actually developed, I would have needed you. Other business leaders, people that we have converted, it's every single one of them. My dad has dementia. Man, I wish I had have done this. Every single B2B conversion has come from someone having a personal experience, but then being able to envisage how it can suit the masses. And never at that level, when I'm speaking to that calibre of people, do I get, there's dumb stuff like, what's the difference? I can film it on my phone. I'm like, have you? 100% you can film it on your phone. So film it and do it, please. You don't need Evaheld. And they're like, oh, but you're not selling your product. I'm like, I don't need to sell my product to you. Yeah, that's how I actually reply. My product is to help give people guidance to make this process easier, because it's a really hard thing to do, and to deliver it to future generations in the most beautiful way possible. That's our value proposition. It's not the how. I'm not playing in the how in the mud. Where you're going to store it is a how. How you're going to, you're going to make a video is a how. You're going to write it is a how. I'm not playing in the how. I'm playing in the whys and the impact. So yeah, I probably don't do very well actually in talking to direct consumers like that. Should have been the short answer.
Wonderful. So just to finish off, are there any final words that either of you would like to share or comment on just to sum this all up? It's okay if there's not. Yeah.
Yeah, it's been really awesome to have this conversation. It feels like it went really fast. I'd say that know your purpose, like why you're doing this, why you're solving the problem and innovating. You are so authentic, and that is exactly what's made us click. I think it's so amazing. And so bring that authenticity into your customer and prospect interactions as well. Don't shy away from being exactly who you are. And that's why I guess I plugged the Clifton Strengths, because these are tools to help us get super aware and help us know our style as well when we are going to market and selling.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Laura. Anything that you want to add?
I'm all good.
All good. Thank you so much, Lauren. Thank you so much, Michelle. This was such a wonderful discussion. We'll give them a final round of applause in a moment. Actually, let's give it to them now. That was wonderful. Let's give them a final round of applause. And thank you. Wonderful. We can probably use that time to cut the stream. Now, in a moment, pizza will be coming through that door. It's going to be hot, so please stick around. Please network with each other. Just a quick show of hands. How many of you would be against someone random coming up to you and saying, hi, I'd like to have a chat. Where are you from? Would anyone against that? No? Okay, so please feel free. So please feel free to interact with each other. Please feel free to meet each other. Please feel free to just say, hey, Aaron at the front said to say,